Welcome back to live coverage of the Apex Gaming $5,000 Modern Open here at Apex Con in sunny Caldwell, Ohio. It's getting late. I'm Todd Tandy Anderson, joined by Ross Merriam. Say hi, Ross.
Hi, Ross.
We got two players left in the tournament battling it out for first place, the championship prize of this Beseju playmat. Let's get it up. As well as $1,500 for first, only $700 for second.
Not a bad payday.
Not a bad payday. Also, the winner will get some Ultimate Guard swag. I believe they get some Katana sleeves and Boulder deck boxes, which is pretty sick, if you ask me. We got two players left. Ross, tell me about them.
Well, we got Josh Engel, who we just watched dispatch Ryan Hayes playing Gruul Eldrazi Breach. Defeated Jeskai Control in the semifinals. Gets that same matchup in the finals. Honestly, it looked pretty straightforward for him. I think this is just a tough match because the Jeskai deck is very good at dealing with small creatures. He's got beat up on Boros and Mardu energy all day in the hands of several players. There were 3 copies in the top 8 as a result. But these Eldrazi Breach decks don't really care about your spot removal. They present really powerful threats. And honestly, unlike a lot of ramp decks, have a lot of instant speed threats. You can end a turn Kozilek's Command. You can end a turn through the Breach to force the opponent to tap out. And the Jeskai Control just doesn't seem like it has enough counter spells to hold up in the matchup. That said, Tyler Andrews has a few subtle differences in his list from Ryan's that do give him a little more play in the matchup. He has 2 copies of Snapcaster Mage in the main deck that can target Counterspell, give him more access to that. Also has 4 copies of Force of Negation between the main and side, 2 in the main, 2 in the sideboard. That's both helpful as an additional counterspell in its own right, but particularly as a free counterspell that makes it a lot easier for Tyler to tap out on turns 4, 5, and 6 for something like a Escaped Flage or a copy of the One Ring, and still not die to something like a Through the Breach or let a copy of the One Ring resolve on the other side. So those Force of Negations will open up his gameplay tactically, and that will also help him in this matchup. So I think he's a little bit better positioned than Ryan was, but still fighting uphill here in the finals.
Alrighty, well, the players are situated and ready to go, and I'm ready to go too. So let's head on down to the feature match area and watch the finals. We got Engel on your left, Engel's on your right, Andrews on your left. Engel just beat Jeskai Control with Gruul Breach. Mulliganing to 6, it looks like, but is going to be on the play, and we know that his deck is quite good at mulliganing. Seems to be like a hallmark of a good modern deck these days is how well does your deck function when you mulligan? Because most decks need to mulligan like once every 2 games or so.
And with Devourer of Destiny, the Gruul Breach deck does keep a wider range of hands.
That's true. All right, Engel putting one back. We'll see if he has any pre-game actions, and then we'll be off. Here we go. Grove of the Burn Willows. We're going to give a life to Andrews up to 21. I love a good Grove of the Burn Willows.
Yeah.
Top 5. I got a good Grove story. You want to hear it?
Nope.
Dang. All right. I'm going to tell it anyway. I once loaned Charles Gindy, Pro Tour champion Charles Gindy, 4 Grove of the Burn Willows for Grand Prix somewhere in Florida back in 2012. And he had just won the Magic Online PTQ. He was the creator of the first real Tron deck. And then he dropped the deck in the toilet. And then he gave them back to me and said, "Here's your toilet, Groves."
You're wrong. I did want to hear that story.
I'm glad. All right, well, Grove of the Burn Willows is the find.
Not a great find off of Stirrings. This deck doesn't need a lot of colored mana to operate. It's just Ancient Stirrings and Through the Breach. So would have preferred to see one of those lands that can potentially tap for 2 mana, like Eldrazi Temple or Ugin's Labyrinth.
All right, well, Andrews does shock in here for Steam Vents, but Spell Snare takes care of Talisman immediately.
Fastest Spell Snare in the West.
Oh, yeah. It was on the table before the Talisman was even revealed from hand.
Yeah, Talisman is the only target for Spell Snare in the deck, but that still makes Spell Snare better than some of the other cards in the Jeskai main deck.
All right, Andrews down to 17. Shocks in Steam Vents, but no play here. Just hold up Counterspell. We're going to pass back. End of turn here for Engel. We're going to go for Kozilek's Command for X equals 1.
So that'll make 1 Scion token or 1 Spawn token, and then scry 1, draw a card. Can't imagine Engel is using this to accelerate You generally don't want to waste cards ramping against counter spells because it's like you traded the ramp spell and the counter spell for it. Instead, Andrew's taking the opportunity to get some value out of Galactic Discharge.
Yeah, we do see a sacrifice of the Eldrazi in response to basically cancel out the ability to gain the energy since the spell does get countered on resolution.
No play for Engel. Didn't have another land, so that was the motivation behind casting the Kozilek's command. So no plays for him, and Andrews can freely fetch for a Meticulous Archive here on the end step.
All right, top card. Let's take a peek.
He likes it. Is that multiple counter spells in Andrews' hand?
I believe so.
Okay, well, this game going pretty well for Tyler Andrews. If he has a bunch of time to make land drops while Engel is stumbling, it's going to be very helpful. And there's a Snapcaster Mage, so Andrews can handle one threat at a time very easily.
All right, Engel keeps the card on top from the Kozilek's command, so we have to assume that is going to be a land for him. That's a 1 ring, so we can go land ring this turn more than likely. Guess the question is it Ugin's Labyrinth? And if so, what do we put on underneath it? Maybe we don't put anything underneath it. Maybe we just play it and then cast the ring.
It's tough sledding here for Engel. Hard to navigate against counterspells when you're stifled on mana.
Emrakul being put under the Labyrinth, so now it taps for 2. We're going to make 2, 3, 4 mana. And here's a 1 ring. And that means counterspell. Classic Blue Mage says, no!
Ooh, and no 5th land for Andrews. That is also a big deal, so going to be hard for him to sort of pull ahead. Though the Snapcaster Mage will be helpful. If there's just one threat here for Engel, Snapcaster on counterspell can take care of it and start chunking in for 2.
Well, this is a fairly juicy snap plus spell snare, but I guess he doesn't really care about it.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that with 4 mana still available for Engel. It could be the One Ring, or even a Thought-Knot Seer would be very strong.
Yeah. Well, now Engel is rolling, has a bunch of mana active, and could maybe bait end of turn with something like Through the Breach and untap and resolve a big thing.
And even though Andrews has 2 counterspells in hand, Drew Elegant Parlor naturally is one of his 4 lands, so he can't cast both counterspells in one turn cycle.
All right, end of turn, we're going to Snapcaster. It looks like we're going to go for Galvanic Discharge, and we're just going to pop that Eldrazi, same like we did earlier. Just want to get some pressure down so we can start attacking for 2, something that I believe Ryan really was lacking in their match.
Yeah, I like this aggressive use of the Snapcaster Mage. Pressure is very important for the Jeskai control deck in matchups like this. Engel once again sacrificing the spawn in response to the discharge, so the spell won't resolve and no extra energy will be generated. Teferi, the draw for Tyler Andrews. If he can get a few more land drops, bouncing the Snapcaster Mage could be a potent play.
Also just makes it way safer for him to start tapping out because then Engel can't do any big instant speed stuff on the end step.
So there's an Arena of Glory, so we can cast Teferi with 1 counterspell up.
All right, so now Engel can't really respond with Through the Breach because if he does, then during the end step, the creature will just die. The strength of it comes from being able to do it during the end step because you don't have to sacrifice the creature for a full turn cycle.
Yeah, and then of course once the Teferi resolves, can't cast Through the Breach at all. Andrew's getting aggressive with the Teferi. I would like to tick up. Leave yourself the option of rebuying the Snapcaster Mage if you want to.
Has another Snapcaster Mage in hand. Just wants to attack the mana a bit. I doubt that.
Is there another Snap in hand?
I believe so. Here's a Through the Breach. We have Counterspell. And now we're at the point where we talked about where Engel cannot threaten 2 spells in the same turn. And so Andrews, with that pressure, is just going Counterspell, Counterspell, Counterspell over and over again.
Counterspell, attack for 2. Counterspell, attack for 2.
Yep.
And if Engel takes a turn off, Andrews has a Solitude at the ready to add to this clock.
Yeah, I think that will be the play this turn if Engels doesn't threaten anything. Engel tapping 4 mana. Here's the One Ring.
Okay, and still has 4 mana available after this.
All right, snap, counterspell. We'll see if he has anything to punish. No. Andrews, though, I think might be out of interaction. We'll see if these Snapcasters and Solitude can get the job done. We're going to go fetch in here on the end step. Something like Flage off the top could be good with that Arena of Glory. It might actually threaten to win the game this turn. Isn't that wild?
That would be quite the turn. Yeah, if he gets to land 7 and has a Flage, the Flage will be 15. We lethal by itself. Don't even include the snaps.
All right, top of the deck. That's a copy of the One Ring. That's a pretty good top deck.
Attack with 2 snaps brings Engel to 10.
I do see a blue card over there. It might actually be another counter.
Yeah, there is another counterspell in Andrew's hand. His draws come together very nicely in this game.
This ring should help him find a couple more ways to interact as well. So this one seems to be relatively in hand for Tyler Andrews. Let's see if he can close. Back to Engel. Plays Thought-Knot Seer for 4 mana.
It's a good one to start on. That will draw the last counterspell, but no follow-up threat for Engel, and now Andrews gets to untap, and we may very well see this Teferi bounce one of the snaps if Andrews can't find another piece of relevant interaction. Attack for 4, Engel down to 6. Yes!
All right, that should all but lock it up. We know Engel hasn't been able to play 2 spells in a turn, and no matter what he draws here, I doubt he'll be able to do that, and Snapcaster Counterspell is going to lock it up. Andrews takes game number 1 of the finals.
And really, the small changes from Ryan Hayes' list to Andrews' list were the difference. Those 2 copies of Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, not only was it just pressure, but it also meant an extra counterspell multiple times throughout that game. That was really nicely done. And honestly, when I saw Ryan Hayes' list, I saw those 2 subtleties, and I thought, I wish those were 2 Snapcaster Mages.
I like the idea of having free spells in your ring deck.
Yeah.
But in a matchup like this, Snapcaster is certainly much better. That was the bread and butter for control decks for years in Modern. Was counterspell, snap counterspell, use my Snapcasters to pressure you, and then maybe finish off with a Colonnade activation.
Right.
Of course, Celestial Colonnade long been removed from Jeskai control decks in Modern, but Snapcaster Mage making a return recently and looking very strong in that game 1.
All right, well, as these players reach for their sideboards to get some help, let's start with Engel. Since he's down a game, Ross, why don't you give us your expert analysis? How will he be approaching this game after sideboard?
Well, as noted in the semi-final match, he has several good options to fight these counterspells. 2 copies of Defense Grid and 3 copies of Veil of Summer. Those 5 certainly coming in. The rest of the sideboard is much less effective. We have 3 Damping Matrix, 2 Disruptor Flute, 1 Gemstone Caverns, 2 Relic of Progenitus, and 2 copies of the Stone Brain. I think Relic of Progenitus is defensible because stopping Flage can be so important. The Snapcaster Mage, it can also stop Snapcaster Mage, so has a little more equity in this match, but the deck list is so lean. There's 2 Dismembers that are definitely coming out. Every other card is fairly essential to how the deck functions. Normally you would want to cut some of the really expensive cards because they're hard to resolve through counterspells, but you really want a high number of them to make sure your Ugin's Labyrinths are turned on, because that mana advantage is very important for beating counterspells on the early turns.
Yeah, also sometimes it's just about, can I play Defense Grid on turn 1 before they have Spell Snare up? And if you can do that, it's real difficult for them to do anything about
that
your
would be
turn.
A big deal. For Tyler Andrews, his sideboard is 1 Celestial Purge, 2 Damping Sphere, 3 Drannith Magistrate, 2 Force of Negation to supplement 2 in the mains. The full 4 copies there in the 75. 2 March of Otherworldly Light, 2 Obsidian Charmaw, 1 Surgical Extraction, 1 Teferi Time Raveler, and 1 Wrath of the Skies. I expect the Forces will come in. I expect the Charmaws will come in. The questionable cards to me are the March of Otherworldly Lights. You're going to have some removal in the deck. There's just so many removal cards in the entire 75. March being able to take out a Talisman and take out a copy of the One Ring, I think makes it significantly better than something like Galvanic Discharge. And then I would potentially bring in a copy of Surgical Extraction. If you can stop the through the breaches and know that that's no longer a threat, it just opens up a lot of tactical flexibility. You can be more aggressive in tapping out for things like the One Ring or Flage. And you have so many weak cards to bring out, like these 4 copies of a Galvanic Discharge and 3 copies of Wrath of the Skies, that you should be able to find space for that one Surgical.
All right, while these players are shuffling up here for game number 2, I'd like to take this time to say thank you to our sponsors for this weekend's events. Ghost Energy keeps us hydrated and energized on these long tournament weekends. Thank you so much to SpiceRack.gg, new tournament software we've been partnering with for our last few tournaments. We really appreciate them. Thank you so much to Ultimate Guard. Ultimate Guard is the industry leader in TCG supplies, from the Boulder deck box to the Katana sleeves. Check your local game store today for those. And last but not least, Wings Etc. Grill and Pub. Get you some wings, watch some sports, hang out. That's Wings Etc.
Players draw opening hands. I see an Obsidian Charma, a Counterspell, and a Snapcaster Mage in Andrew's hand, along with, looks like 2 copies of the One Ring. Not sure how many lands are there, but if he has 2 or 3 lands, that looks like a very solid hand. And Engel taking a mulligan, so things going from bad to worse for our Gruul Breach player.
Well, it looked pretty good last round when he stomped a mud hole into our good friend Ryan Hayes, but down a game here, mulliganing to 6. Could be better, but I'm not going to count him out yet.
Yeah, certainly, Gruul Breach is a deck that is very capable of winning on 5 or 6 cards. Could win as early as turn 2. Ugin's Labyrinth, exile Emrakul, play Talisman. Next turn, Ugin's Labyrinth.
Through the breach,
through the
Ulamog.
Yeah.
Sure. 25 you on turn 2? It's like a perfect hand, but dang, you right.
Yeah. That's 7 cards, so 6 cards plus a draw step can do it.
No pregame effects once again. I'm curious if Engel is siding out a bunch of Devourers of Destinies in matchups like this. It wouldn't surprise me, but just not seeing it after game 1 very often.
Especially because it's one of the weaker 7s to cast in this matchup.
Right. But it is a super nice pairing with the Ugin's Labyrinths. Here is a Talisman. We're going to cycle Luring Revealed in response as Tyler Andrews. I kind of feel like from Josh that might have been bait, because I thought I saw a Defense Grid hanging out over there. I do. And I thought maybe he was just going to slam it and hope that there was no Spell Snare.
I also think I see a Veil of Summer, so might be going for a Defense Grid with Veil back up next turn.
Tight.
Andrews does have a couple of Prismatic Endings and 2 Marches if they came in from the sideboard, so can remove a Defense Grid from the battlefield should one resolve.
Mm-hmm. We also know he has a lot of Force Negation, so could win a fight here over something like that. Shocks with Steam Events. You know, he paused on it. If I'm Engel and I see that pause, what I think immediately is, oh, he doesn't have Counterspell.
And yet he does.
You know, sometimes you get got. I can see his hand and I got.
A little fake pause, potentially. A little acting on Andrew's part. He knows Engel is a very astute player, the kind of player that would pick up on something like that and potentially respect it.
I'm so easy to read, I guess. Holy. All right. Andrew's here. Going to be the instep. Could play Snapcaster Mage to start getting the beat down on. Decides not to. Engels doesn't play land number 3, just passes the turn.
Once again, some early mana troubles for Engel, and while the control deck doesn't, apply pressure to your life total when you stumble, letting them get set up with a lot of land drops is still quite problematic. It just becomes that much harder to, grind through the wall of counterspells.
All right, Charmar going to come down and blow up a land, but that is going to force Engel to react. We're going to play Kozilek's Command for 1, scry 1, draw. It's going to go to the bottom. Looks a lot worse when your opponent, or when you're not playing those 2 mana lands every time.
I imagine the Grove will be the target from the Charma, and it is. And now the clock is on. Andrews has a 4/4 flyer. Engel does not have very much mana to work with.
Yeah, he missed a land drop and then got one blown up. Finds an Eldrazi Temple, though, so this is a big turnaround. Here's Thought-Knot's here.
And this can take the counterspell from Andrew's hand, which will both stop counterspell from stopping a spell and put it in the exile zone so Snapcaster can't flash it back.
All right, let's see what Ingle wants to take with his Thought-Knots here. A lot of juicy options because there's no lands.
What's that card between Teferi and Counterspell?
Flage.
That's Flage, yeah.
That's a Flage.
So we got 2 copies of the One Ring, a Teferi Time Raveler, a
Should have
Flage,
said the 2-ring.
a Counterspell, and a Snapcaster Mage. I have to imagine Engel takes the Counterspell.
Well, that Teferi coming down, bouncing his Thought-Knots here next turn could be awkward, but I don't really mind it. The Flage is very scary, but it looks like Ingle's like, okay, just going to take that Teferi.
If Engel does have the defense grid, then maybe he's not worried about counterspells. That could be a reason to take the Teferi.
All right, takes the Teferi. Pass turn back. Seeing Charmaw, this 4/4 flyer, going to chunk over every turn for the next few. Thought-Knots here could be a little problematic, but we can bonk it.
It's a Damping Sphere drawn for Tyler Andrews. Does stop Eldrazi Temple and Ugin's Labyrinth from tapping for 2 mana, but very narrow application.
When he drew it, you didn't see my face, Ross, but I made a face. And you at home, when he drew it, I'm sure you made a face too.
It can be awkward for the Jeskai deck with Snapcaster Mage. You're casting 2 spells in a turn. Sometimes with Flage, with the One Ring and Tune the Narrative, you're often casting multiple spells. So, yeah, not a fan.
I doubt he even cast it here. He just needs to hold up Counterspell.
Yeah, this is just chunking for, well, it's hard for Andrews to even attack, right? Because he's not winning the race. He's dealt himself so much damage with his lands. The Thought-Knots here is a real threat.
Yeah.
Charmaw might have to just trade.
I hope he tap outs for Damping Sphere and then Ingle just goes land through the breach 20U. Alright, just the passing of the turn. Tank, 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 go.
And Engel does know about the counterspell in Andrew's hand, so should be able to navigate around it.
Yeah, and we can get around it pretty easily if we have Veil and
Defense Grid.
Defense Grid.
Okay. Thought-Knots here does trade with the Charmaw here in combat. Andrews gets to draw a card.
I don't know how you do that first if you're going to play stuff, because you give your opponent a card. I don't even know that I would make that play. Your opponent's holding it back. That means they're wanting to trade. Here's another Thought-Knots here. Boom, counterspell. Double boom, Veil of Summer. No force of negation.
Well, let's resolve the Veil first. I get to draw a card.
Yeah, counterspell gets countered.
Now I'll see that you have drawn a Scalding Tarn and Damping Sphere since I last Thought-Knot-Seered you.
I just want to take that Flage. Graveyard looking pretty mid. Double ring means taking a ring is awk.
Though, maybe you do want to stick Andrews with only 1 copy of the ring so he can't answer it. You already taken away a Teferi.
That's true. We've seen ring in the opponents multiple times this weekend already.
Flage also pretty good at stopping you from dying to your own rings, so...
Yeah, I just take the Flage. Get him out of here. See ya.
Engel agrees.
Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Question mark? Alrighty. Let's see what Andrews can do. We did draw the 4th land, so now we can play the One Ring.
That's another Scalding Tarn drawn for turn. Fetch brings Andrews down to 11. This will likely find a basic. That's 2 islands and 1 plains.
I like that island.
You are a little unhinged.
That's true.
That's not true. You're a lot of unhinged.
Well, they don't put boring guys on camera, Ross. I don't know if you know that. Actually, that's not true. They do that all the time. They put you on camera.
That wasn't as good, Todd.
That was pretty good. Okay. All right. Chat vote. Who won?
Andrews does play 1 ring, draws a card. Not sure what the card was.
Another counter spell.
Okay. We'll see what Engel can do with this free turn. Still doesn't have a ton of mana. Has to start this turn with an Ancient Stirrings.
Well, in his defense, he missed his third land drop, and he got Charmod.
He did get Charmant, got chewed up.
Finds a ring. We can cast it here. This is a nice pickup. And if there's no force negation, which we know there's not, Andrews here are going to be essentially at parity on cards, but very behind on board and life.
Engel plays a basic. Now casts the ring while saving his spawn for later.
And no need to attack. We got ring protection, so passing of the turn. Back to Andrews. We're going to take 1 from the ring down to 10. Now we can tab it to draw 2 cards. We found another Teferi Time Raveler, so we can use that to bounce and reset our ring if we need to.
But Andrew is also a little land light here, so it's going to be tough for him to catch up to what's on Engel's battlefield and answer that while protecting himself from the threats that Engel draws with his own ring.
We could go bounce ring, let Teferi die, counterspell the ring on the comeback. Try to.
I don't mind that. Wouldn't be surprised to see Engel ignore the Teferi at that point, just attack Andrews down to 6.
Yeah, that's fair. Unless he draws Veil and wants to use it to protect something. Here's Teferi. Boing.
Does target the ring, so that's problem 1 taken care of with the counterspell in hand. Problem number 2 is this Thought-Knot Seer. And then problem number 3 is his own copy of the One Ring. We do know he has a backup ring in hand. So has problem 3 checked next turn. It's really just the Thought-Knot Seer that is a problem left.
Alright, gonna attack the Teferi.
If I'm Andrews, I'm pretty happy about that.
And now what do? We have the ability to play the ring, but I think we also have a defense grid, so I think we start with defense grid. That's going to definitely meet a counterspell. And then we play the One Ring and hope that there's no force negation.
Yeah, so the One Ring is a problem once again.
Okay. And we bounced it in the hopes that we could counter it, but instead the defense grid forced our hand. We're going to go back to Andrews. Going to go down to 8 from the One Ring. We know he's got a backup to replace it, so that is not necessarily a huge deal at the moment.
Is that a second?
Maybe, he's got to be cutting those after game number 2, man, if he loses this one.
I bet he wishes those were galvanic discharges at this point.
Yeah. Thought-Knot Seer is a huge deal. Gives these decks a nice pivot when they're doing extremely degenerate things. They also can do, medium-sized things with Eldrazi Temple, like cast Thought-Knot Seer on turn 2.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's not fair that these big mana decks also get to small ball you.
Yeah, I agree.
They're supposed to durdle for 3 turns, so you can set up or just kill them.
Yeah. Why are my opponents doing things instead of being dead?
I think Tyler will go for the second copy of the ring this turn. That'll protect him for another attack.
Okay. Rings swapped out. Land coming.
Hand does not look particularly good. May end up discarding a Flage to hand size so he can escape it faster. Though, next turn, if he gets to 7 mana, which he will, he can Flage plus escape and deal with the Thought-Knot Seer that way. Gain himself a good chunk of life so he can keep churning with this ring. I imagine Tune the Narrative will be entering the graveyard, but Andrews instead pitches a couple lands.
Yeah, I think he had 3 or 4 lands, so keeping the tune, maybe a little energy helps, maybe just digging a little deeper helps.
Honestly, probably should have just discarded those Damping Spheres.
And give away that useful information that you boarded in Damping Sphere? What if your opponent starts laughing at you? Think about the morale.
Right, back to Josh Engel. He's got an Ugin's Labyrinth. Does he want to put anything under it? He does. An Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn.
He big. Now what? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We can hardcast an Ulamog the Defiler here if we have it.
That'd be pretty good. I don't know how many cards are in Tyler's library, but
can't be
looks
that
like
many.
looks like 11 in the graveyard, 2 in exile, makes 13.
We're counting.
7 in play makes 20, and 7 in hand makes 27. So 33 in libraries. 17 will be exiled.
Okay, well, we're going to cast a 7 mana 6/6 instead. Less impressive.
Yeah. Devourer of Destiny.
To the narrative, going to be cast to get some energy. Charmaw's the
Okay.
pickup.
That can deal with the Labyrinth and strand that Emrakul for the rest of the game. And trade for the Thought-Knot Seer. So then Andrews is back down to just having to answer Devourer of Destiny and Josh Engel's copy of the One Ring.
Gonna draw 2 cards. I think instead of killing the land with the Emrakul on it, we should probably just cast an Escape Flage, killing the Devourer, because it's pretty big.
Yeah, that's a fine line as well. Andrews goes for the Charma.
Yep. Get the lab with the Emrakul. Emrakul stays exiled.
Bye-bye.
It's like turn 100. Do you want to cast your Damping Sphere?
Seeing 2 Damping Spheres, a lot of lands, a Flage. I'm not seeing a lot of counter spells. Okay, there's a Prismatic Ending. Tyler Andrews has a Xander's Lounge in the deck as his...
Does he have a Shadowy Backstreet? Is that what one of the lands is in play?
Just Xander's Lounge for a 4th color of mana if he wants to use Prismatic Ending to answer the One Ring.
Okay. We're going to Flage you. Just to gain some life, I guess. Yo. Tyler saw Josh count up that mana and was getting scared, so decided to go after with the Charmaw instead of double playing Flage and killing one of these large monsters.
Yeah. But gaining 3 life here does leave Andrews with the option to trade Charmaw for Thought-Knot Seer, take 6 from the Devourer, and still survive his One Ring trigger the next upkeep.
Well, another Devourer can eat this Charmaw, and then we're just chunking over for lethal, unless Tyler has something to do, and I don't know if he does.
He's drawing a lot of cards, but they aren't blue.
I think he has maybe a Snapcaster Mage he can play and just chump block the 6/6.
But he really wants to use that Tarn to fetch for Xander's Lounge.
True. Just a tough spot to be in. Engel on the precipice of forcing Game 3. For all the heat that Nadu's been getting lately, I gotta say, the One Ring, man.
It's pretty good.
Sheesh. Ring you? No, ring you. Alright, Engel. Looks at the graveyard. Don't know why. Seeing how many cards he has left in his deck, I guess. I see an Emrakul hanging out over there, but without Through the Breach, we're pretty far away from it. A single Kozilek's command resolving could maybe do something about it. Engel gonna swang in here. Charmaw trades with Thought-Knot. Andrew's gonna get to draw a card. I see a Kozilek's command. I feel like we should have just played Kozilek's command to target your creature to kill you. Maybe just playing dicey.
Engel expects a lot more counter spells. Force of Negation would stop that. Counterspell itself. Doesn't realize how poor Andrew's hand is at this point.
Well, a lot of it has to do with the Damping Spheres, and citing out things like Galvanic Discharge often leads to disaster against creatures, as well as makes your Snapcaster Mage much worse.
So we see 2 Damping Spheres, Snapcaster Mage, 3 lands, Prismatic Ending, and Teferi Time Raveler in hand for Andrews. It looks like Engel will take the Teferi with this Thought-Knot Seer. And Andrews is gonna need some very good draws.
He's got a Flage in the graveyard that can gain some life. We can draw some cards with the ring. We can also fetch for a Surveil land. So we have a lot to be doing, even outside of our hand being relatively weak.
So maybe it's escape Flage, deal 3 to Engel, go up to 5, because Andrews is going to fall to 2 on the upkeep from the ring. Well, actually going to fall to 1 because he's fetching here. You can escape Flage plus Prismatic Ending on Thought-Knot Seer to avoid dying. You can't even deal with the 1 ring.
Yeah.
And then trade Flage for the Devourer of Destiny. And that will let you live. So you can go down to 1, up to 4, draw cards with the ring, and then take 3 on his next upkeep. But if there's a Kozilek's command in Engel's hand, as you said, he's going to need to find Force of Negation to stop that.
Ring should be untapped. We have 2 counters on it. We're going to draw for turn. Looks like we found another Flage, so we could do the double Flage play again, killing the Devourer, going up to 7. Maybe use the ring to draw into Force of Negation, and then, man, we got a real game.
Yeah. Andrews could also draw Arena of Glory. That would be quite good with the escaped Flage.
We're going to draw 3.
And there is Arena and Force of Negation.
Oh, that darn ring.
Not only does Damping Sphere do nothing, it would stop Arena of Glory from exerting for colored mana. You would get 1 colorless, and that can't be used to cast Flage from Escape.
I don't know what to tell you, Ross.
So we escape Flage. Now we can escape and attack, and that will take down the Devourer and gain Tyler 7 life or 6 life, go up to 7. And then you can Prismatic Ending the Thought-Knot Seer. So you're under no pressure, and then have Force of Negation to stop something like a Through the Breach.
All right, 3 to the Devourer? Question mark? Yep.
And if Engel doesn't chump with the Eldrazi spawn, he's going to fall to 8 and then take 3 on his turn from the 1 ring, falling to 5. So he would then be in danger of dying to both the Flage and his ring. I wouldn't be surprised to see a chump block here.
Engel has 5 mana in a Kozilek's Return. I don't know why he wouldn't go for a Kozilek's Return to exile it before it can attack.
Then you get really burned by a counterspell. Here he gets to guarantee at least absorb the 6 damage.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's a cool play. All right, I like it. 3 spawns.
And at this point, with how many cards Andrews has drawn, only 1 counterspell cast thus far in the game. You have to expect a counterspell.
All right.
It's honestly surprising that Andrews has only drawn 1 more.
Andrews here. Second main, going to make 4 colors, and that's going to be Prismatic Ending on the Thought-Knot.
Engel's actually going to make spawn tokens, not exile the Flage with that Kozilek's command. Interesting. So he's got a plan for this mana. I think he's trying to end the game on his next turn. He's going to make a bunch of mana. He's going to draw a card for turn and 4 more cards off the 1 ring. And Andrews is tapped out, so only has Force of Negation and Solitude available as potential points of interaction.
Andrew's going to keep as many blue cards as he can because he does have 2 Force of Negation, discards a handful of lands and a Damping Sphere. Engel's going to take 3 from the ring, draws, going to draw 4 more cards. Let's see if he can cobble something together for the win. He's going to have 7 or more cards in hand here. I see 1 through the breach.
Has to be careful this turn, though, because the Flage plus his own ring could end up killing him.
We do have plenty of blockers for the Flage, but if we do burn all of our Eldrazi to get there, it'd be tough.
We got a reader of Abstergo Entertainment.
Abstergo Entertainment.
A card I certainly knew existed before today.
Look, there are a couple of cool cards from Assassin's Creed, but it's a mini set. It came out right after Modern Horizons 3. And I'm not really into Assassin's Creed, if I'm being honest.
A great start for this turn. Defense Grid will bait 1 Force of Negation.
Okay. Do we have 10 mana to play 2 through the breaches? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We did play a land already. So a second force negation here, which we know Tyler has, might be enough to steal this game after such a brutal opener.
It's a lot of cards in hand. I think I see another copy of the One Ring as well. So Through the Breach plus Ring would also be good here.
I wonder if you just bait Ring here to reset. Then you just
Yeah.
go smash you.
Through the Breach is certainly the one you want to resolve, so I think I would save that for last. Angle. Oh. Is he filtering mana with the...
I don't know what happened.
Was there no blue card to...
Oh, maybe there
Yeah.
was no blue cards left to pitch. Maybe
Yeah.
he only had the one with Snapcaster Mage. I saw the Force Negation number 2. I got super excited. But
Yeah, but didn't find a second pitchable blue card. So Josh Engel going to take down game 2, and we are headed to one final game for this tournament, this match, and this Apex Con.
Oh, yeah. It's been a great weekend so far, Ross. I want to take this time to say thank you to our lovely hosts, the Huck Brothers. Right now, in the booth with us is one of the 2 Huck Brothers that we interact with on a regular basis. That's Taryn Huck. Say hi, Taryn.
Yo.
Oh, he doesn't do the joke. That's fine. Taryn, just want to say you've been doing a great job this weekend, and we really appreciate your hard work. We also appreciate all of the employees here at Apex Gaming. They do a great job of making sure that we have a well-run tournament, clean environment, as well as everything we need. They're just always on top of it.
And if you're watching at home thinking, I want to attend one of these, well,
Guess what?
the next one is August 16th to the 18th here at the Apex Gaming home store in Caldwell, Ohio. And there is something for everyone at these events. We've got the 2 main events that we're bringing you with coverage, but there is tons of side events. We have an event space that can hold well over 200 players
We had a
comfortably.
CDH event today.
Yeah.
We had 15 players show up for that. It was a good time.
CEDH, there's a Lorcana event. There are additional RCQs if you don't do so well in the main events, which are destination RCQs, and on-demand side events all weekend for those that want to do that with a full prize wall. There are vendors, there's food on site, so be sure to check out apexgaming.gg for the dates of all future events and more information about those. And keep in mind that the next one is August 16th to the 18th. Todd and I will be back for that, bringing you coverage just like we are this weekend. The main event is actually Team Modern, non-unified Team Modern. So grab your friends, come out, play 3v3, and try to qualify all 3 of you for that November Invitational, which is a $20,000 tournament.
Yeah, Team Modern's a heck of a good time. You get to play. It's not unified. You can play whatever you want. All 3 of your teammates can play the same exact deck. No one cares.
Yeah, just bring your decks, bring your friends, have a good time,
Best
win
2
some
out of
money.
3. Players here drawing their openers. See if we'll be underway here in just a moment. Looks like Andrews is kept. Engel's going to take a peek. Jordan going to take a yawn and a swig. That's been Jordan watch. Engel going to mulligan. Can we go back to Jordan watch? See if he does anything else cool. Ah, he crossed his arms. He crossed his arms, Ross. Oh, he's crossing them again. He's smiling. Look at him. This is Jordan watch. Oh, he knows something's up. He knows we're talking about him. Look at him.
Okay, let's go look at Chase Ballard's hand. I see Obsidian Charma, I see Flage, I see Force and Negation, I see Island Plains Scalding Tarn, and I think maybe a Teferi? The last card?
Yeah. Good eye.
Okay, that is a very solid hand, though notably only has 1 red source.
Yeah, and I could actually tell Josh Engel's hand right now. It's got 4 Devour Destiny, 4 Emrakul the Answorn, 4 Thought-Knots here, 3 Little Magnifier, 4 Ancient Story. Okay, now he's drawing a 7, but he did have all the cards in his hand at one point, so I can do it too, bro.
There's a Veil of Summer, 2 Thought-Knot Seers, a Grove of the Burn Willows. I'm not sure I see a lot of mana in this hand.
Y'all can't see it, but Ross is like leaning to the right so he can see the hand better.
I always do it, and then I
know.
catch myself doing it, and I'm like, that it's on a screen.
I know.
But it just...
Gets him every time. All right, Devourer of Destiny. We're going to go munch in the top of the deck. All right. Let's resolve this trigger. Top 4.
Engel does it on his first upkeep, so Andrews starts the party with Scalding Tarn Go. Probably going to get a Surveil land.
We found a lab, and we found an Eldrazi temple, so whichever one we like, we can take.
I would guess Lab. The fact that Lab accelerates your One Rings is a big deal.
I agree. There's a chance that there's not a big guy in hand, though.
He has Devour.
Oh, right. Duh. Peanut butter and jelly.
That's what we call a combo.
Yeah, it does. Oh, did he put the... I can't...
Yeah, that's a creature in the middle.
Okay.
Of the Eldrazi Temple and the Grove. So, Ugin's Labyrinth at the top of the deck. Draws it for turn. Devourer going to go underneath it. Does he have a Talisman?
Nope.
No.
Back to Tyler Andrews. We're going to fetch. Probably going to go get a Surveil land. We'll see which one he wants.
Now, Andrews needs to find a second red source for this Charmaw. Can potentially cast that on turn 3 if Engel plays a land that produces colorless mana on turn 2.
What does he have in his deck that doesn't? Is it just...
Forest Mountain.
Yeah.
And 2 Boseiju.
Yeah. Too bad they didn't make like a Urborg for colorless. Then you could just Charmaw the pants off of people.
Jesus.
No red source here, just island. We're going to pass back. Engel.
Well, Andrews actually put Elegant Parlor in the graveyard off of the Surveil, so declined second red source.
I think I saw Steam that's hanging out in the back of the hand. I
Okay.
think that's what that is. And I think oh, that's a Sacred Foundry, even better. So now we have access to all our colors. And here comes Obsidian Charmaw. 3 cost, 4/4 flyer, blow up your land?
Yeah, Engel not able to do anything with this Ugin's Labyrinth before it gets blown up.
Oh, you got it right the first time.
Can
It got blown up.
rebuy the Devourer of Destiny, though, so it doesn't get 2... Well, does only get 2 for 1, doesn't get 3 for 1. Naked Gemstone Caverns, Todd.
Unlucky.
Charmaw is a significant clock. Things looking very good for Tyler Andrews here in Game 3. Just going to send these Phlages upstairs.
Wow, just trying to close before Josh Engel can do anything. Knows that he doesn't have to worry about anything big this turn. Plus, his counterspells in hand are Force Negation and Spell Snare.
Yeah, so has Force Negation to cover Ugin's Labyrinth into a One Ring. And doesn't care too much about a Thought-Knot Seer because the Charmaw flies over it.
All right, another fetch line getting cracked here. Let's see what land he wants to go get.
All right. So Engel at 13. This next attack will drop him to 9. A Phlage trigger from hand will drop him to 6. And then another attack will put Engel to 2. Andrews needs to put 1 more card in his graveyard to escape one of those Phlages for lethal in 2 turns.
Yeah, the Meticulous Archive here can guarantee that with a bin. And now he still needs another white mana source, I believe, or a red mana source, rather. He has a split.
The basic island doesn't help, but there's a plane. So, looks like Andrews has this locked up next turn, unless Engel can do something relevant, and I'm not sure what that thing is.
Sapia.
Against a Force of Negation, because he can't cast any of the big creatures. Thought-Knot Seer isn't relevant.
Last draw step of the tournament for Mr. Engel.
Yeah, this is a draw where Engel really needed a Talisman. Then I think he could have got the party started a turn early.
Paxton then plays the legendary Gemstone Caverns #2 and extends the hand. Great sportsmanship there from Engel. And Tyler Andrews as your champion. Jeskai control out of left field. Dominated this entire event. 3 copies in top 8. Back-to-back top 8s by our fan favorite, Ryan Hayes. And Tyler Andrews taking it all the way down, Ross.
And for a format where everybody's talking about Nadu,
I'm going to go get him. You keep going.
Both of our tournaments this weekend were taken down by Phlage. This is the Boros Titan ruling Caldwell, Ohio, here at Apex Con. Todd's going to get Tyler Andrews. We're going to do a brief interview with him, and then we will wrap up this show and this weekend. Really impressive stuff for Tyler Andrews. Engel was able to take out a very similar deck in the hands of skilled pilot Ryan Hayes in the semifinals, but the Snapcaster Mages that Andrews had and Hayes didn't have were critical in Game 1, and then was able to take advantage of some stumbles with a Charmaw in Game 3 and take down this tournament. Tyler, let's get this headset on. Okay. Well, first off, congratulations.
Thank you.
This playmat you see in front of you is now yours. This is going to go out to every single Apex Invitational Qualifier winner during Season 4. So if you want to get one yourself, head to apexgaming.gg and to find a store near you that is hosting AIQs. So there you go, Tyler. Congratulations. And I got to say, all the talk in Modern recently, especially since the Pro Tour, has been about Nadu. Nadu. There were plenty of Nadu decks in the room, but from our vantage point here in the booth, this weekend it was all about Flage. And as somebody who chose to play Flage instead of Nadu, walk me through that decision. Why Jeskai? Why not go for the bird?
The benefit of Wrath Disguise being able to wipe out the Shukos and the Sagas in the Nadu matchup is really important. If you look at my my match in top 8, my opponent played out with the Saga into a big Wrath Disguise that was able to put me so far ahead. And I only actually played against Nadu one time over the course of the last 2 events. So I was lucky enough to dodge most of the Nadu, I guess.
So would you say the Jeskai deck matches up well against Nadu? Is that matchup close?
I would think it matches up pretty well. Wrath of the Skies being a clean answer. If your opponent isn't playing a way to win the game as soon as that, that like a Thassa's Oracle or something like that, you get to untap, you get a chance to answer the board. A lot of players are looping through with the Venster and stuff and endurance, but if they're not actually killing you, you always have a chance a little bit.
Okay, cool. And is there a matchup outside of Nadu that you're particularly worried about, and maybe something to prepare for in the future?
Nothing crazy. There was some deck building error on my part. I should have had some more basics. I took a pretty big loss to Blood Moon and played against a lot of Harbingers of the Sea. So no basic mountain, a second basic plains were definitely something I'd like to add.
Yeah, second basic plane seems important so you can Flage through a Blood Moon. I know Ryan Hayes had that in his list and it came up.
Yeah, so it definitely would have come up in multiple matchups for me today. I played against Merfolk a lot with the Harbingers of the Seas. I played against a lot of Blood Moons out of the Boros Energy deck. A lot of things like that. Okay,
so that's a lesson for you kids at home. Play your basic lands. Last question for you, Tyler, and then I'll let you go. All weekend in this Jeskai deck, it wasn't just Flage that was looking very impressive. It was Arena of Glory. Getting that hasted Flage on the escape has been so important for catching back up. Did that come up for you a lot this weekend?
Oh yeah. In my feature match round 3, me and my opponent traded Flages because of the Arena of Glory. I was able to play mine, and it really put me ahead, but he drew his, and it actually ended the game on the spot once he drew it.
Awesome. Well, congratulations again. I look forward to seeing you in November. And let's get Todd back in here and wrap up this weekend.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well done. How do you feel about those damning spheres now? Would you bring them in again?
I wasn't going to bring it up.
That was another deck.
I'm going to bring it up.
We didn't roast you too hard.
All right. Well, Ross, it's that time again. Chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us all weekend. We had, almost 24 hours of content to bring you this weekend as we had 2 7-round Swiss Modern Opens.
Hey, I don't mind having a long weekend. I love seeing the attendance pop up.
Me too.
This, I honestly think, was our largest attended Sunday event ever. Actually had more people today than yesterday.
Yeah.
So thank you to everybody that showed up. Thank you to everybody that watched at home. And we look forward to only bigger things in the future.
All right. Thank you so much to our judge staff. Thanks for making sure the tournaments run smoothly. We actually had a new head judge today who did a great job. So shout out to them. Big shout out to the employees at Apex for making sure everything went well. They employ a lot of people in this town, and man, they did some hard work this weekend. They was working.
Yeah, a long weekend running 200-person tournaments.
Yeah. Well, chat, it's that time. So, just gonna say that's Ross. I'm Tandy. Say bye, Ross.
Bye, Ross.
And God bless Caldwell, Ohio.